My name is Eleanor. I'm 91 years old, and there's a name I can't say out loud. Not anymore. Not for 37 years. I can write it. I've written it 1,000 times in the margins of books, on the backs of receipts, in the condensation on a window. But I can't speak it. My throat closes. My mouth forgets how to shape the syllables. It's not that I've forgotten the sound of it. I hear it all the time. In grocery stores, at the pharmacy. Once, at a funeral, someone called out to their son across the parking lot, and I had to sit down on the curb because my legs went out from under me. His name was Daniel. My son's name was Daniel. I didn't always struggle to say it. For 14 years I said it every day, multiple times a day. I said it soft in the mornings when I woke him for school. I said it sharp when he tracked mud through the kitchen. I said it with my whole chest when he graduated 8th grade and walked across that stage in a blazer that was too big for him. "Daniel," I said, "I'm so proud of you." He smiled at me like I was the only person in the room. I was a single mother. His father left when Daniel was 2. Just left. No argument, no dramatic exit. He told me he couldn't do it anymore, and then he was gone. I never heard from him again. So it was just the 2 of us. I worked at the post office, sorting mail. It wasn't much, but it was steady. Daniel and I lived in a small apartment on the north side of town, 2 bedrooms. The heat never worked right in the winter, but it was ours. I did everything I could. I made sure he had what he needed. I checked his homework. I went to his basketball games, even though I didn't understand the rules. I packed his lunches. I told him I loved him. I thought that was enough. Daniel was a quiet kid. Not shy, just internal. He kept things close. He didn't talk much about what he was feeling. He'd come home from school and I'd ask, "How was your day?" And he'd say, "Fine." And that was it. I didn't push. I thought I was respecting his space. I thought I was letting him be himself. I thought silence was fine as long as we were together. When he was 13, something shifted. He started spending more time in his room. He stopped eating dinner with me most nights. He'd take his plate and disappear. I could hear his music through the walls, loud, angry music I didn't recognize. I asked him if everything was okay. He said, "Yeah, Mom, I'm fine." And I believed him. Or maybe I wanted to believe him. At 14, he started staying out late. Not every night, just sometimes. He'd tell me he was at a friend's house, and I'd say, okay. I'd wait up for him. I'd hear him come in through the side door, quiet, trying not to wake me. I'd call out, "Daniel?" And he'd say, "Yeah, I'm home." And that was it. I never asked where he'd really been. I never asked who he was with. I never asked if he was okay, not in the way that required a real answer. I told myself I was giving him independence. I told myself teenagers need space. I told myself he'd come to me if something was wrong. But the truth is, I was afraid. I was afraid of what I might hear. I was afraid he'd tell me something I didn't know how to fix. I was afraid of being the kind of mother who didn't have the answers. So I stayed quiet. And so did he. The last real conversation we had was 3 weeks before he died. We were in the kitchen. I was making spaghetti. He was sitting at the table, picking at a loose thread on his sleeve. I said, "You've been quiet lately." He looked up at me. His eyes were tired, older than 14. He said, "I'm always quiet, Mom." I laughed. I actually laughed, like it was nothing. I said, "I know, but you seem, I don't know, different." He stared at me for a long time. And then he said, "Do you ever feel like you're just going through the motions?" I didn't know what to say. I said, "Everyone feels like that sometimes." He nodded. He looked back down at his sleeve. I should have stopped stirring the sauce. I should have turned off the stove. I should have sat down across from him and said, "Tell me what you mean." But I didn't. I just kept cooking. And after a minute, he got up and went to his room. 3 weeks later, he was gone.